We're going to listen to good old Jerry Jones.
Jerry, Michael Parsons, Tank Lawrence, Jordan Lewis in the past 48 hours have talked about we're not detailed. There's hero ball. When you hear that, does that alarm you that this defense is talking about details and focus and hero ball this early into the season?
Anybody that's ever been a part of the team knows that there's very seldom a time when that team doesn't have to come to Jesus meeting. And everybody gets down, you all these terms, look in the mirror. Look within yourself.
Jerry.
Look at what you're doing. Think about what you're going to do. Are you studying your opponent hard enough before Sunday, or in this case, Thursday? Nobody that's really ever been through success have not had those come to Jesus times when they've had to relook in the mirror, relook at what you're doing, look at what you're doing in context of the guy next to you. And like I said, that's worthy when you're healthy, and we're relatively speaking, knock on wood, we're healthy.
It's week 3. We got this come to Jesus meeting. All I can say is Jerry, these players, they know something is up, and there's a lot of changing. It's a lot of movement going on. These boys got to figure out how they can be on the same page. On the most side of it, I think week for week, the offense will improve, but this defense, we got to get this thing together, man.
How about when you've got talent? We do have that. Okay, those are the kinds of things that help you. Do we have a quarterback? Of course we have a quarterback, and I'm proud of it.
Right.
Do we have some great players on the defensive side of the ball? Those are the things you reinforce in your own mind, and then you go out there and look for your mistakes. You handle it better when you reinforce those things I'm talking about right now.
Right.
That's the way you work out of this thing. But I've never been involved in anything, team or otherwise, that didn't have some really tough daddies involved in it, ever.
Jerry, you mentioned that, looking in the mirror is part of the process. WFAA TV this morning had a poll, saying who was to blame for the 1 and 2 start, the players on the field, everything. 70% said that you were the one to blame. Is that fair?
That's very fair. That's very fair.
I'm talking about the man in the mirror. Yeah, Jerry. Jerry, your version of all in is creating all type of little issues here. And if he can't correct this, because at the end of the day, everybody, mama, uncle, cousin, Tupac, and Biggie know that this team is all designed from Jerry Jones' mind. And he is the one that's going to have to fix a lot of things, because it was him that could have went out there and got a player, right? Paid a player early. It's him that can make the necessary moves on coaching staff. So yeah, it's all on Jerry at this point.
It's well known that no decision is ultimately made there for what I either have acquiesced or approve it. That's very fair. How could you think otherwise if we are basically, whether it be who's out there coaching, whether it be who's out there playing, whether it be the stadium you're walking into, whatever it is here, that's the way it is. Now let me just say this. Do I have a huge amount of input in making those decisions? When they've done their homework, they are very influential input to me. And we've got a lot of people in the Dallas Cowboys that have done their input. And I think I've forgotten what it is. Now, I'm not trying to say this, but if you look at who's won the games over the last 4 or 5 years, Kansas City has, of course, but we're not far right. We're right in that pack.
Oh, come on. Jerry, hey, can somebody put down and explain how many playoff games do Kansas City Chiefs have before we even go to the Super Bowl? And if we talk about right in that pack, you got to hold back then a little bit, Jerry, because I don't see their owner doing 2 or 3 videos a week. And technically, we don't see their owner meddling. And they have a system that's been put into place for not just every year, but they have a system that's been put into place for multitudes of years. right? Since Andy Reid been there. It's been Andy Reid's system. It haven't been anything else. It's been Andy Reid's system put into place so that these boys can operate. The Joneses, man, every year we got a different system. Every year we got different major changes of personnel and things like that. So
gotta get out of it.
Jerry,
and that's offensively speaking and defensively speaking, by the way.
I don't know how you could look at it otherwise.
Jerry, the TV cameras caught a couple of tense interactions between CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, and DeMarcus Lawrence. When you see those sort of interactions on the sideline between your team, how concerning, if at all, is that for you in terms of for the health and the chemistry of your locker room?
That is nothing to be concerned about. Interaction between teammates and a game like we play, the physicalness of it, the demands of it, the reliance that you have on each other. You really have to have everybody pulling their own weight. You have to do that. And, boy, it is not uncommon at all to not only do it in the middle of the competition, but to be doing it. And by the way, I have never, ever seen that interpreted in any way among a team, but constructive. As a matter of fact, if you can't have that kind of emotion about it, that would be something to be concerned about. But if you couldn't get frustrated on the sidelines of the last couple of ball games we have, it's not in you.
I agree with that. I agree.
Jerry, do you think CD not being in camp has had any negative impact on the start to his season?
Well, that's a trade-off. I've always thought that since he and Prescott spent so much time working together this summer, and it wasn't an inordinate amount of time, I think they possibly knew something like that might happen. And so they did spend a lot of time. And plus, CD has had a lot of snaps, but more importantly, CD. CD is a competitor. He wants to win. He's beautiful in his transparency. You can tell in a minute whether he's excited or whether he's not excited. And some of us act that way. And that has nothing to do with their effectiveness. In answer to your question, I have always worried just as much about availability as I have about ability in terms of the great players. Because there's no question of his ability. There's no question there's been a lot of balls thrown and caught between the two of those. Can we play better on any given snap? Of course. But that doesn't concern me as much as getting on the page with the entire team where everyone is recognizing their role to the other one.
No, I would say this, though. To be 1,000 with you guys, there's always going to be some drop-off when someone hold out. It took Bosa last year 4 or 5 weeks. And he on the defensive end side of it, and that's for the 49ers. It's for a wide receiver, it's going to take a minute, man, to be on the same page, to be on the same signal and things like that. And even though they can say, well, we practice with each other at Dak's backyard and things like that, but the problem is, even when you do that, it's another situation where you got to quantify that CD may be practicing, but he's not practicing getting hit. So that's why you see the concentration drops. That's why you see the fumbles. So those are things that you have to also consider when you're playing in the National Football League. There's going to be drop-offs, but let's listen to more what he had to say.
How would you grade Dak Prescott's performance through these first 3 games?
Well, I'm not going to grade him. We always look to the ultimate grade, and that's the win.
Right.
And but I will say this. I didn't give him the kind of contract that I gave him and not be happy about having him as our quarterback.
Yeah.
And that was the intent as far as you can see in the future, and that's where I'm glad that we are. And there are things that he does out there that reinforce that every game. Now, he'll be the first to tell you want to get wins here.
Right.
Jerry Jones here on 105.3 The Fan. With everything at stake, with the way things have started off, Jerry, are we approaching, and this could be a crazy question, do you think that Thursday night is approaching must-win against the Giants?
Say it, Jerry.
Well, I don't want to minimize the importance of
a division
New
game.
York. They're in our division. That says enough right there. And we need a good game. It's a tough place to play. There at the Meadowlands, but still, I don't.
Man, Jerry, man, let me say this, man. Every divisional game is a must-win game. The ultimate goal is to win your division. That's just the bottom line. You got to win your division so that you can get a playoff seat. That's just what it is. So all of the divisional games are must-win games. It's tongue-in-cheek to say anything else. And you want to grab this momentum. You don't want to be on a 3-game skid.
Again, what's a must-win? When you play, we play 17 games. Some sports play over 100.
Dog, it's a must-win game, dog. It's just how it is. It ain't nothing else.
50 games that they get down to 2 or 3 games that you could look back and say they must win. And to me, when I think about it, that's the case. You might look back and say that's a game that you turned the corner. That's a game that you did that. And I don't mean to sound cavalier when I'm saying it, but every possession is an important possession for us and for each player. And that's the trick: is play the possession, do the best that you got in you when you're out there, knowing everybody else is going to do the same thing. Good things will happen.
Jerry, you're usually very aware of what's going on, what's being said. Have you sensed a higher level of fan frustration that fans are really voicing that they're more fed up during this rough stretch compared to other past rough stretches?
I've always thought, I guess I got baptized when I first came to Dallas and bought the Cowboys, and we won one football game. And we had made changed out to only coach for 29 years, and we got huge criticism. And
Criticize.
the kind that would make what you're seeing now child's play. And so I have never thought that there was any chosen one, or never thought that it was you're dealing with anything but a lot of emotion about our team. It never ceases to surprise me, both from the state of Texas, in the case of the Cowboys, or all over this country, in the case of the Cowboys. And it's either there because they want to see us get a you-know-what kick, or it's there because they're following us. The thing that inspires me the most is the emotion about it. But it's certainly, I'm aware of it. I'm aware of criticism.
Let me say this, man, because we're going to wrap this up. Jerry is north of 80, 81, 82, however old he is. It is 8 o'clock, early in the morning. He's doing that, and then he got to leave and go to a meeting. This dude is working his ass off, right? Because when we get to 80, we ain't going to be trying to talk about the Cowboys and fly to New York and stuff like that on any given day, right? So all I can say is that this particular team is a situation whereas Jerry Jones is running the ship, but he got to also grab hold to the tangible things, meaning that if he's going to be the GM, you got to be on the phone, dog, and picking up the calls of bringing in a defensive tackle, maybe elevating Dalvin Cook and seeing what he got, and also seeing what your running back game can do. And that's the bottom line. And we got to figure this out, ladies and gentlemen, about this particular team, especially on how we're going to operate down the line. We need better play calling. We need for these coaching staff to get this personnel together. And on top of that, we need to be locked in and focused. That's what I took away from this particular interview. But Jerry, look, Get your stuff together. Let's continue to grind and shine. Cowboy Nation, that's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Go Cowboys.